My name is Marcel Hansen, and you're listening to Small Habits, Big Changes. Let's dive in. Welcome. Today's episode is a little bit of story time. Talk about my experience with competence and confidence. Stay tuned. When I was a little girl, my dad ran heavy machinery. Actually, he ran heavy machinery my entire life, and more importantly, his entire life. But when I was little, we lived out pretty rurally, down by I always say an hour from the base of Mount Rainier, which is not really at all an accurate description, but because most people don't know where it is, that's pretty safe. But an hour south of Seattle. And when it would snow, which didn't seem like very often, my dad had this big grater, like a huge grater. I don't know whatever happened to it, if he sold it and got another one, but he's always had many. And so I lost track of it. But it was one of those that you climbed up in a cab, and it had the big scoop across the front that was like a plow. So it snowed one winter. And in my memory, I always thought I was like 3 years old when this happened. I totally was not 3 years old, because we moved to a certain house in this area when I was 4. And it happened a couple of years after that. So I was probably around 7 or 8 and maybe even 9, but I was definitely right around there. I had a friend, shout out to Krista, and Krista lived on a long dirt road that has since become quite populated road and had quite a development made. But back then, in the 1980, they were one of the only folks down there, it seemed like. So it was a little bit of a walk, but she was a friend. And so we would frequent each other's houses. And my dad and her dad were friendly. And so when it would snow, my dad would drive the tractor down, the grater, and plow the snow clear so Sonny could get off to work. He worked with the airlines. And big Hawaiian dude, shout out to Sonny. And so I'd get to tag along. So I was up in the cab. And as we would turn onto that dirt road, there's just a ton of snow, and it was wide enough to plow off and still have 2 lanes. But we would plow, and after a little while of my dad maneuvering the levers, he would let me try. And so I think he controlled it to the bit that it was never disastrous or anything. But as a little girl, as a little person, like in this cab, feeling very powerful and able to affect how the snow like cleared the path was super cool to me. And I look back at it now, and certainly my brother-in-law had my nephew on the tractor when he was little, and even my stepson when he was little on the tractor, again with my brother-in-law. So it's a very common thing. It just, to me, it was a great parenting and a great teaching moment. It allowed me the freedom in a pretty safe environment, because he also had his hand on the lever. So if I did push it too far forward or too far back, or you know what, I could have totally destroyed that driveway, and he could have graded it flat again, like absolutely in no time, because he was pretty good at that. So I never felt like I was worried about not being able to fix a problem if it was made. And so it gave me the freedom and really just the confidence to try and to do and to fail and fix it and continue on. And I carry that with me today and have for my entire adulthood. And I really look back and think those were really cool, pivotal times in my psyche, setting my mindset about that I could do anything I set my mind to, which my dad did tell me once. And I believed him. And I think it's important as parents and mentors and influences over the younger generation, or even the same generation, to instill a sense of safety and a sense of like a safety net that someone could try and fumble and maybe make mistakes and learn from those mistakes and get better from that experience. I think confidence comes from being competent, and competence increases with confidence. So it's really this beautiful cycle that perpetuates itself, to which I say, pick anything in the world anything that you love, whether it's stamp collecting or football stats, if it's a certain video game or a sport of any kind, if it's a puzzle, if it's building models, if it's calligraphy, if it's organizing, if it's fixing, if it's anything, and become competent in that area. And you will build confidence, and that confidence translates. It's a transferable skill, and it can very easily translate into a new hobby or passion or something you want to do. My dad said, never be afraid to try, that you might fail and it may go really badly and you might not, but you'll never have the regret. You'll never have the regret of not giving it a go. And to that, I say thank you to my dad. And I think all of you out there feeling as though you may be flailing as a parent, it often feels that way. There's a bit of overwhelm on a daily basis. Do something that you love and become competent at it if you're not already. And that confidence and that competence is something that your children will see in you. And also it will make it easier for you to share that with them and for them to create their own love, their own passion, their own ability to build their own character. I think the world needs people to be more competent and confident in this day and age and always. And so, yeah, I had a lot of freedom as a child. I had a lot of independence. My brother and I ran around out in the woods, from the time the sun came up to the sun went down, and literally little to no supervision ever. And we learned how far we could go and make it back, and all the things we discovered out there, whether it was certain kinds of bugs or berries or trees. We just lived and learned in nature. And I think that living in the city now, I miss that for sure. There's a communing with nature that happened every single day just on my walk to the bus stop, which was a block away, which I made from the time I was 5 years old until I drove when I was in high school. For over a decade, I got up, whether it was pitch black in the wintertime or pretty bright in the spring, and I made that walk. And there were years where I did it on my own, and there were years where I did it with my brother. And I think there's a lot that has changed that I've seen so far in my lifetime. And I do know for sure that spending time in nature and by yourself and doing things that you love make for a better planet. I know that with 100% certainty. So whether or not you have kids or are planning to have kids, share with them, let them witness your passions. I think it's the single most powerful thing you can do is to let them and let other people see your joy and your confidence. I hope this lands well with some of you, and I do hope that you are having a fantastic life and that you are inspired to do something you love today and tomorrow and as often as you possibly can. While life is long for those of us going to 150, it's also very short and very fleeting, and time passes quickly when you're doing what you love. But it also can stand still and provide you with all sorts of joy and health benefits and bliss to be one with something that you are interested in, no matter what it is, no matter what anybody else thinks, whether there's anybody else interested in it or there's a million other people interested in it. It's your thing. It's your jam. So get into it. It's very cool. I hope for each and every one of you that you have an amazing day. And on the flip side, I look forward to connecting and sharing more about my journey and hearing more about yours. Until then, stay awesome. Thank you so much for listening today. If you feel any part of this episode resonated with you, then please consider sharing it with a friend who may also find value in it. And remember to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And before you go, did you know we have a fantastic free text community?
If you want more bite-sized health hacks and reminders delivered directly to your phone, absolutely free, then text keyword YES to 206-483-2960. Again, that's keyword YES to 206-483-2960. And we'll see you on the inside.